Last week in Pride and Prejudice, we talked about chapter 26, where we learned that Mr. Wickham likes Miss King instead of Elizabeth. But Elizabeth never really cared, so does she not like Mr. Wickham? Well, today we're going to find out a little bit more, so we're going to do chapters 27 and 28. So please welcome Thomas Stroh. So, Thomas, thanks for coming out today.
Well, it certainly is a pleasure to be here, Hon-En.
Thanks. Now, Thomas, we've received some fan mail about this chapter, chapter 27 that is, and I've picked 3 questions at random, and I'd really appreciate it if you could answer them for our fan base out there. So I'm just going to start with the first one. When Elizabeth visits Hunsford, where does she stop at?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Hon-En. You see, Elizabeth, she goes down to London because she wants to see Jane, who is staying with the Gardiners.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that should help a lot of the viewers who were confused, so I'm just going to move on to the next question. How far was Jerry Collins' parsonage?
Well, it was only a mere 24 miles, but they had to, leave early to get there by noon.
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. What did the Gardiners propose to Elizabeth?
Well, they would like her to go on a trip with them.
Where would this trip be?
It would be out and about, but perhaps most likely to the lakes.
Okay. Okay, and now we have a question from the audience. Sir, step up to the mic and state your question.
All right, Mr. Hon-En, my question is, in this chapter I saw that Mrs. Gardiner's opinion changed on Mr. Wickham. Does that affect Elizabeth's opinion about him, and why?
Well, that's a good question. I think Elizabeth, at this point, is just a little too hung up on Mr. Darcy to care. Don't you think?
Personally, I think it's just irrelevant. It doesn't really matter.
It's what Mrs. Gardiner would say, because, Mr. Wickham was hitting on Miss King, so does it even matter for Elizabeth anymore? She has no feelings left for him, right?
Yeah, basically.
We have to go to a quick commercial break, but we'd love to hear your response to this question, so log on to Twitter and we'll discuss it later in the show. Thanks. Alright, we're back, and we're here with Mr. Stroh still. Now, we're going to move on to chapter 28. And while there were so many questions about the other one, this question was overwhelmingly asked by the same amount of people, so I'm going to ask it to you. At the end of the chapter, who unexpectedly offers dinner?
Well, it's Miss Devore.
Oh, why? How do you know that?
Oh, because obviously it's held at her estate, Rosemeads Park.
Oh, okay. So, therefore, that's who has to offer the...
Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your insight. We're kind of running out of time, so we're going to take one more question from the audience. You, sir, step up to the microphone and state your question.
Yes, thank you, Hon-En. So my question is, do you think that Elizabeth will regret not marrying Mr. Collins?
Well, that's a great question, but unfortunately we're out of time this week, so I want you guys to go onto my Twitter page and answer this question, and we'll discuss it further next week with our guest host, Mr. Stroh. Tune in next week, guys.
It's good. It was good.